one of the things, I'll just start off by saying this, a short little testimony about how this album started and how God impacted it and where He took me with it. When I was 14, I didn't start this album when I was 14. That'd be crazy, although it feels like it. No, when I was 14, I started doing music, and it was one of those things I didn't really expect to get into it. I never really sang or anything. My mom sang with my sisters in church. I didn't really do it. I was too shy. But I got into music, and as soon as I started getting into it and just writing lyrics and making beats, it was something I kind of knew that God was calling me to, and I wanted to do for the rest of my life. But of course, when you're young and you're 14, you're naive and very ambitious, and you dream crazy dreams and sometimes good things. But 14, we're younger, and we could dream with no limit. And so at this age, I was dreaming up things like, I'm gonna be the next Kanye West on an international level, and I'm gonna be like Outkast, because to me, like, Outkast was the pinnacle of music. So I was like, I'm gonna be Outkast, but I'm gonna have a godly message in my music and stuff. And so, because I was making Christian music, I thought like, well, God's gonna automatically just back all this up, and He's gonna just make it happen, right? And so I would look at these artists, and like again, I said, in my naive 14-year-old mind, and even going into my teen years, I would look at these artists, and I remember telling myself, and telling people too, if I don't make it by 27, because to me, I feel like that was like the average age I'd see an artist blow up, like 27. Of course, Kanye was like my idol then, so he blew up at 27. So I was like, if I don't make it by 27, then you know what, I don't think music's for me. I'm just gonna cut it off, because that's too old and nobody wants a rusty old man rapping on the mic and stuff like that. So I was like, 27 is my age. If I don't make it by then, I just need to give it up. And so we're here years later, and I'm 28. No rust. I feel it now. And so I'm 28, but when I started working on this album, it was a few years ago, probably 25, 26, and I saw myself approaching this age and nothing happening, and I was like, dang, if the 14-year-old FayBN can see me now, he would be really disappointed. I'm not gonna lie. I had that thought. I was like, he'd be really disappointed that this guy, and I'm just gonna be open and honest with you guys, but this guy that's still living at his parents' home, working at a park cleaning toilets and cutting grass, still working at a park cleaning toilets and cutting grass, and still single, that's not an offer. But by that age, I used to tell myself, man, by 27, I don't know why 27 was a pinnacle year. I was like, by 27, I'm gonna have all that stuff. I'm gonna probably be married or engaged. I'm gonna blow up and be famous, and doing it all. I'm gonna be winning my Grammys and stuff like that. And when I hit 27 and I'm realizing I'm in a park cleaning toilets. I felt like I was in a toilet. I'm in a park cleaning toilets. I kind of I'm not gonna lie, that age was super rough for me, because it's like, I kept remembering that 14-year-old FayBN, and I kept just feeling so disappointed in myself, and so much shame and anger, and really I started to get bitter and depressed. And there was so much of me that I invested into that dream. Like, I didn't come up with a plan B for this. Like, this was it. Like, I told people, hey, people would say, hey, what are you going to school for? Oh, music business. I'm like, oh, that's kind of rough. You think, you should come up with a backup plan? I'm like, no, that is my plan. That's I know God wants me to do this. And so, but I would start thinking, man, I should have came up with a backup plan, because, what am I going to do? Am I going to, and it's kind of hard to get hired now at another place when you have on your resume that you've been doing maintenance at a park for a while. So I started really hitting some low depression, and just seriously feeling like my purpose in life was kind of gone, because it almost felt like I was abandoned by God, and those dreams were crushed. And so moving forward, I started realizing I was separating myself from certain people. And even though I was physically around people in church, around family and stuff like that, I just felt emotionally disconnected, and just kind of putting up a facade. And even when I would do music and get invited to do something like at a youth event, I dreaded it because, to be honest, I would be asked to talk about the love of Jesus. Now, faithfully wasn't. I was struggling because I didn't really believe it, because I felt like, you know, I was abandoned with my goals and everything. But you see, the problem is that instead of trusting in God and putting my full investment of myself into God, into Jesus, into my relationship with Jesus, I realized I was following a dream more, and investing my whole identity of who I was into a dream of making it big, and really all these vain things, in which the name of this album comes from. And so it brings to mind a Bible story that happened where there was a young man who was well off, and he came to Jesus and he said, "Good teacher, what do I need to do to have eternal life?" You know, basically translating like, "Hey, what do I need to do to be good in heaven? What do I need to do to be, you know, good with you?" And so Jesus said, "Hey, you know, obey all the commandments. Have you obeyed all the commandments?" And this is my paraphrase, you know. And he said, "Yeah, I've done it all. I'm good. I'm obeying all the commandments." And so Jesus said, "Okay, so if you want to be perfect, sell everything you have and follow me. And then give that money to the poor that you make from everything you sell." And so the young man went away distraught, because he realized he loved all those things that he had so much. And we never even know if the guy came around again and came back to Jesus. That was the last we heard of him, that he just went away distraught. And so I look at that guy and I was like, man, thank you so much. I realized I was like that guy, that even though I was serving God and I was very ambitious and on fire, and I wanted to do this music for God, I fell in love more with the dream than the dream giver. And my identity of who I was and my future, my hopes and everything was in that idea. And if that idea didn't happen, then who was I? I was nobody. I was a guy in a park cleaning bathrooms. So, and it crushed me. It really did crush me. It wasn't until I realized, really, to be honest, this year where things started coming around. As I worked on this album, these songs came from a really hurt place and just a real struggle. But it wasn't until God gave me a little example of something, and it really opened my eyes. Just an example about a kid being in an orphanage, and how a kid being in an orphanage, he picks up all these bad habits in an orphanage. He's lost. He doesn't have a father. He doesn't, you know, really have an identity. And one day a guy comes in and he adopts this kid, and he becomes his father, and he takes him into his home. He gives him all his love. He gives him all his inheritance, everything. But even though that kid is in this new home, under this new father, he still has a lot of that baggage that he carried from the orphanage. All that abuse he might have gone through in the orphanage, all the hurt, all the bad habits he picked up and everything. And so when I thought about this example and God brought it to my heart, I realized, I was like, man, you know what? I'm kind of like that kid, that even though I don't have everything I want, even though I'm not everything I want to be yet, even though I'm still struggling with certain things, it doesn't matter about all the vanity. It doesn't matter about what I have. It doesn't matter about what I don't have. All that matters is that I'm a child of God, and nothing can change that. Nothing can take me away from that. And the most eternal security you can have is your eternal security of being in a relationship with Jesus, and knowing God, and knowing that you're going to be with Him when this is all said and done. It's kind of funny, but there's a video online, maybe you might have saw it, and it's Denzel Washington, and he said a quote. He's like, you never seen a hearse with a U-Haul truck behind it. And it's very true, because everything we have on this earth, we can't take it with us when we go. We can't take it with us when we die. So I would say, what is success? Everybody, we're living in a society where it's like success. You know, you see these videos of these motivational speakers, and they're like, you know, you want to be successful, you got to do this, you got to invest in that, you got to just go out and get it, you got to be a go-getter. But is success having things? Is success having riches and glory and having your name remembered on earth? No, because when it's all said and done, all that vanity doesn't matter anymore. It's all gone. And the only person you're going to stand before when you're not here on this earth anymore is before God. And you're going to have to give an account to Him for why you should get into heaven. And so the only way you can get into heaven, the only way you can have eternal security, like that young man was looking for, is having a relationship with Jesus, having a relationship with God, and being His child. And that's all it really is. You don't got to be perfect. You don't got to have it all together. You just got to give your life to the Lord and say, I want to be your child. I want to turn from my old ways, and I just want to be adopted into your family.